Welcome to my Atari ST Nostalgia trip, and welcome to the next game in my Bracy weather Bitmap Brothers tour, which I'm afraid will contain a lot of unpopular opinion this time, because this video is about Xenon 2 Megablast that everybody seems to love, but I never ever liked. I don't even think it's a particularly good game. What it is, however, is probably the most overhyped piece of software to ever be published in the 20th century. And it doesn't live up to that hype in any way. It didn't then and it doesn't now. If I had to describe this game in one word, it would be disappointment. This whole game to me is just a huge disappointment. So what I'm going to do in this video is explain why this game brought absolutely nothing new to the genre and how its serious flaws make it a disappointment that it still is today. So here we are, in the opening sequence with the digital music, where, to be honest, the slight disappointment already starts. And I hear some say, but this was unique. This was the first video game that had title music by a renowned musical artist. Well, no and no. First of all, Tim Simeon was not that well known outside of his home country, and second, in 1988 a game called Captain Blood already featured music by Jean-Michel Jarre, who by then had already sold millions of his albums worldwide. And let's be honest, the way they did the sample tune here is not that impressive anyway for 1989, is it? After the intro screen, the ST version of course continues with chiptune music, and the chiptune version of this song actually tells me two things. One, it painfully shows that the Megablast song musically really isn't that good. And two, David Whittaker, who did a decent job with the song on the Amiga, seemed to have lost his interest in the ST in 1989. Even with the limitations of the YM chip, I feel he could have done so much better, but now the song really feels like a quickly churned out afterthought. It is bland, it's empty, it doesn't have any of the aggression of the original song that could have actually made it fit this game, and that for me is just a bit disappointing. And I must be honest, I also don't understand this opening screen. It feels a bit like the Bitmap brothers who were trying to connect to the late 80s demo scene with his stars animation and his text zooming in and out, but to me it all feels a bit empty and boring, and more importantly it feels just out of place. There is no connection with the game whatsoever. But anyway, inside the game, after a long loading time when you were playing this from diskette back in the day, but inside the game is where the disappointment truly starts to kick in. Announced as the best game ever, I expected it to have great smooth graphics, great sound effects, lots of new elements never seen before, and above all, great gameplay. And I do have to admit, apart from a spaceship, the graphics in this game actually look quite pleasing. Even if all levels look a bit too much the same, it graphically looks really good, but the rest just doesn't hold up to scrutiny, I'm afraid. Because right from the bat, the gameplay is already ruined. At one screen per 3 VBLs or 17 frames per second, an action-packed game like this just doesn't feel right. The movement of the sprites is just a little bit too jerky, and it actually plays way less smooth than the first Xenon. But most importantly, the hit detection in the game is just absolutely awful. In all my attempts at enjoying this game, I am immediately put off by having to witness my bullets passing right over an enemy without even detecting a hit. And before people start saying, well, that's just because of the crappy hardware of the ST. No, the Amiga version actually seems to suffer from the exact same issue, and it is clearly visible in almost every video of this game on YouTube, including the skillful playthroughs, and I find it appalling that almost no magazine review ever addressed this, and still people everywhere seem to be completely blind to this issue. No, but look at this! The Xenon 2 fans shout out. Your spaceship has a special ability to actually go into reverse. Yeah, so what? It's a spaceship. If I wanted to go in the other direction because I have reached a dead end, a proper spaceship would actually be able to turn around. Or even better, a proper spaceship would actually be able to just fly over the wall. I mean, why would you put this in? The programmers put in the one thing that no other game did without realizing that no one else did this because the other people understood it makes no sense at all. And it doesn't add much to the gameplay and it's mostly just annoying. Ah, the shop. That wonderfully refreshing thing no other game ever did before. Instead of just getting power-ups, you have to collect credits, which you can then use to buy or sell power-ups as you see fit. Again, no. This idea was implemented in all sorts of video games throughout the early 70s even. And even if I limit myself to shooters on the ST, Blood Money did this already 4 months earlier than Xenon 2 did. And they even implemented the shops in a better way. I mean, sure, the shops in Blood Money were not nearly as polished as this one in Xenon 2, but there were more of them, so you could sort of gradually upgrade along the way. In Xenon 2, it takes forever to get to a shop, and then you can hardly buy anything because you were struggling to survive rather than raking up the cash from all your successful kills. And you will be into level 2 before you get your first properly decent upgrade. Unless you wasted your credit on that one upgrade that gave you full upgrades for only 10 seconds, which is basically a waste of your credits and you will not get anywhere in the game. It does, however, give you some nice insight in the slowdowns you are going to experience if you actually are getting good at this game. Next up, the sound effects. I mean, who did these sound effects? The effects in the first Xenon were actually better. The sound effects in this game, again, feel like they were just quickly put in as an afterthought, just taken from a standard sound effects library that David would just use for every game he was working on. Why, David? Why did you do this? I mean, I know digital effects in this game was probably a bit much to ask for on the ST, but again, even with a limited YN chip, I think you could have done so much better than this. So, nothing but disappointment in this game. Despite all the hype of how great it would be, in the end it's just a good looking but in every other way mediocre at best vertical scrolling shoot 'em up that brought absolutely nothing new to the genre. And it really hurts me to have to say that. I think I had enough. I mean, even with cheats enabled, this game is just too annoying to keep playing for long. I still can't see why magazines were all raving about this game with 90% plus review scores. In fact, the only time I ever saw the issues this game has addressed was in a magazine in a column by the great Jeff Minter, and the words I remember are, and I am paraphrasing from memory here, so it might not be entirely accurate, but the words I can remember was, "I can see the programmers having a meeting about their new game, stating we should bring something really new to this. The enemy should have artificial intelligence that remember the way the player plays, so they will adjust their attack patterns accordingly to bring an extra challenge." But of course then the boss interrupts them saying, "Stop that, we need to release this game fast and profitable, I need to pay for my Porsche." And the programmers then just go, "Ah, okay, we'll create a vertical scrolling shoot 'em up with bolt-ons and end of level minis then." And that story really describes this game in a nutshell. Everybody will probably hate me now, but I don't care. My channel, my opinion. And of course, you are all entitled to your opinion, even if we all know you are wrong. Thank you for watching.